Family law lawyer Steven Benmor joins us for his monthly visit. Today we are talking about child support. Welcome back to the show.
Hi, Rita.
Good to have you here. So let's talk about this. Two parents decide that it's no longer working out for them and they decide to get divorced. There's children involved, obviously,
Right.
and, you know, one is going to be caring for the children more so than the other. So when we talk about child support and say it's the mother that has the custody of the children, how does she go about getting that child support from the father?
Usually that's the most pressing concern when people split up, because they need the flow of money to be able to cover the bills. So in the most typical situation, people who split up start living in different residences. Somebody moves out, or they both move out and move into a new place. And then they have bills to pay. So the immediate concern, one of the most common reasons why lawyers get called, is not so much about the custody or access issues as it is about the financial issues. Support needs to be paid. In often cases, what happens is they voluntarily work something out. The father will say to the mother, I'll pay you X amount, and the mother says, that's fine. In some cases, people can't work it out, and that's when people go to lawyers, and lawyers either draft agreements or go to court to get somebody a court order forcing the non-custodial parent to pay the support. People say, I'm going to pay you $500 a month, but they give you $300, and then they say, I'll give you the rest later, and then they never do. And this inconsistency of the flow of support can cause real problems, both financially but also emotionally, for the person who has just gone through a separation and also doesn't have the financial means to be able to to provide the child with a fairly good standard of living that the child was used to when the parents were living together. In fact, the whole idea of child support is that the money that would have otherwise been shared within the family unit when the family was together is no longer under the same roof. So we need to address that by bringing some of that money back into the roof where the child lives. And that's what child support really is the non-custodial person's contribution to the overall cost of raising the child. So if the person doesn't contribute, the non-custodial parent doesn't contribute to the cost of raising the child, then the child suffers.
Right.
So typically what people do is if they can't work it out amongst themselves, they go to a lawyer. The lawyer will either draft an agreement for the two of them to sign, or the lawyer will start a court application for the client asking for support. And then that goes through the court channels that would finally result in a court order. Whether they get a court order or a written agreement, it has the exact same effect at law, meaning it's enforceable by the province of Ontario for the purposes of collection. So for example, if you have a court order or a written agreement for child support and the person's not doing what the order or the agreement says, then that child support order or written agreement can be enforced by a government agency. And that government agency is called a Family Responsibility Office, much like a collection agency for the non-payment of a Bell Canada bill or the non-payment of a Visa bill. This collection agency's job is to get that money flowing to the person that's owed the money.
Now, what about, have you ever heard of situations where dad or mom will skip out of town, go to the U.S., move there so that, you know, they're never heard from and they don't have to pay those child supports? How do you go after them?
Not only is that something that we hear of, it's something that happens, and it's been something that has actually been addressed by the province of Ontario. The province of Ontario, in dealing with that sort of situation, has created reciprocity agreements. In other words, agreements with other countries and other states within those countries, like the U.S., where we will enforce their court orders for child support and they'll enforce ours. And when I say enforce, we're talking about things like garnishment of income, suspension of driver's license for non-payment of child support, cancellation or suspension of passports, cancellation of licenses issued by the state or by the province, so that support is flowing. So for example, if you've got the father of a child who is supposed to pay support living in, say, Texas, and the person can't seemingly get the money paid voluntarily, they can have the Texas authorities enforce the child support from Texas by garnishing the income in Texas and for the monies to be delivered and remitted here in Ontario.